Okay, hi, good morning. So we just wait for a few minutes for others to come in.
Yeah, great, no problem.
All right, so we have a few coming in now. All right, we will start in a minute's time. All right, okay, good morning, all students and parents. Right, yeah, so can you hear me, my voice?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, right, so how are you today, everyone? So I'm Chi, right, I'm the Regional Marketing Manager of Yes Education and Education Counselor for Penang office. Right, so welcome to today's webinar, right, for Study in Australia with Bo. Right, Bo is our business development manager based in both our main office in Australia and regional office in China. Right, he will share with you about the universities and environment in Australia, right? Study in Australia, the advantages of studying in Australia, scholarships, optional, career options, and also free consultation session. Okay, so hope all of you will get the lots of benefit from this webinar, right, about study in Australia. Okay, right. So first of all, I would like to introduce to you about Yes Education, right? Who are we, right? So at Yes Education, we provide free consultation to students, yeah, for education counseling. So like, which course do you consider studying, right? And which university is suitable for your intended course of study, right? Or what career path, yeah, for your chosen study, okay? And also university placement and applications. So besides Australia, we do have the UK, New Zealand, China, Japan, Canada, US, Singapore, and also Malaysia. Yeah, right. The scholarships availability for students, and right, Australian PR application if you graduate from Australia later on. And also we have study tours to institutions for students. Okay, so our main office is in Sydney, right? We have over 10 branch offices worldwide. Yeah. Okay, as you can see on the screen here, right? So you're welcome to visit our Facebook and Instagram for more information. You have videos over there, right? And if you would like to make an appointment to visit me at the Penang office or contact me directly, yeah, with the for free consultation, right? So this is my contact, okay, my email and my mobile WhatsApp. You can always contact me, okay, right? So we are going to start this. So before I invite today's speaker, so if you have any questions, yeah, during the session presentation, you have any questions, please type in the Q&A chat box at the bottom of your screen. So after this, we will take them one by one, yeah, during the Q&A session, okay, before the end of the webinar. Okay, right. So with this, I'm happy to welcome Bo, right, to share with you the presentation, right, study in Australia. Right, hi Bo, right, over to you
Hello,
now.
Chi.
Yeah, hi, how are
How are you
you?
doing?
Right, fine, thank you. Okay, let me stop the
Great to
sharing.
great to be here today, and thank you so much for organizing. And great to see some students here as well. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to speak with our students from Malaysia. Malaysia is one of my favorite countries. Actually, I enjoy visiting there quite a lot, and hopefully I can get there very soon as well. So I'm very happy to, like Chi said, go through all the advantages of study in Australia. I really want this to be an interactive session, so please ask as many questions as you can. But if you can't think of any now, you can get in contact with Chi or myself later on. We at Yes Education, I think we're a team that's very approachable. We're a team that's very knowledgeable and professional with study abroad when it comes to any country. I myself, I'm from Australia. I'm from Sydney, and I studied at Sydney University, and then I also studied in China as well. So I know what it's like to study abroad, but I went in the other direction. I come from Australia, studied in Australia, but then I went to study in China, and I had my own reasons for studying abroad in China as well. So it's a little bit different than coming from Asia, then going to English-speaking countries. So I'd like to discuss that today as well. But now I will share my screen and start to go through my presentation with you all. So yes, please do ask any questions as I go through this. Okay, so this is our event today. So first of all, I'd like to discuss why do we study abroad? It's a really important question. It doesn't come to everybody very clearly. Some people, they get influenced by others, or they've just always had this dream to study abroad. But for me, I think it's important to consider these points. So for me, it was always experiencing another culture that's different to yours, learning another language or strengthening a language. Malaysian students are very, very good at English generally, and become more independent. So leaving home, you've obviously gone through high school for the first, well, after finishing high school, that's almost 18 years. And then you're going to become more independent. You're leaving home, going to another country, and then what skills do you learn after leaving home? There's a few. I certainly learned some myself. Broadening your horizons. That's another thing about becoming independent as well. Kind of strengthening and having new opinions, new ideas, new goals, and learning about the direction that you want to take. I feel that all of that really gets confirmed once you do study abroad, or it helps you come to those decisions really clearly as well. I know when I was in Australia, I did not know exactly what I wanted to do in the future, but it was only after going abroad that I really had that sense of what I wanted to do and what I thought was important to me, and not anyone else making those decisions for me. It was about what I thought was important to me. And of course, that goes on to my next point, which is discovering your passions and dreams. I really do believe study abroad does that. And of all the students that I've talked to that have studied in Australia, my former classmates or people that I've met, or students that I've met in this industry, they all agree with this. Once they go abroad, they really do discover what they're passionate about, not what they learnt in high school back in their home country, what was important to society, but more what was important to them, and learn what their dreams are. And of course, engaging with different people. If you're going to Australia, and like myself, when I went to China, I was learning with other students from all over the planet. I think that is a huge benefit as well. Most likely in your high school or primary school in Malaysia, you studied with other countrymen. Maybe you went to an international school, so that's good as well, but definitely there won't be as much opportunity to meet more people from different backgrounds unless you're going to study abroad yourself. So really engaging with different people at university, but also at work as well. In Australia, there's also working opportunities as well during your study, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well. Another thing that helps strengthen you is to adapt to different or difficult situations as well. I think no matter what happens when you go abroad, you're going to face adversity, you're going to face challenges, and how do you overcome them? And I think that strengthens your resolve and your character as well. So they're really important points I like to make. So what about what about the advantages of study abroad in Australia in particular? So when you're in Malaysia, you're considering to study abroad, most people will think about the UK, they'll think about Australia, New Zealand, perhaps Canada, US, and perhaps other countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, or within Asia as well. So there's a lot of different options out there. So we have to think very carefully about them and what applies or is most important to you. So I'll talk about what I think Australia benefits are. I think there's quite a lot. I think a lot of these points I make here can be shared with other countries as well, but I think Australia does have a unique aspect to it that attracts many, many international students. And that's why it was the second most popular destination for students, for all international students over the world. And that's quite significant given that Australia is not a big country in terms of population. Definitely the UK, Canada, and US are larger in terms of population, but I think Australia has these benefits that do attract a disproportionate amount of students. So number one, I think, is one of the points is the geography and the climate. I think Australia is in a unique position in Asia, just at the bottom of Asia, really. You could say it's not too far away from Malaysia compared to the US, compared to the UK, of course. So it's not close like Singapore, but it's it's close enough compared to other countries, and far enough that you're getting a really unique experience. So it is quite big. It is the 6th largest country in the world, but only around 25 to 26 million people. So quite small in terms of population, and the weather is quite favorable in Australia. It doesn't matter where you go, even if you're going to the far south of Australia, the island of Tasmania, it doesn't get too cold there as well. But most students from Malaysia will choose to study in Sydney or Melbourne, particularly Melbourne, very popular for Malaysian students for a long time. But Melbourne doesn't get too cold, but it is known to have some crazy weather at times, but generally it's very beautiful. Very warm in the summer, very hot, and in the winter not too cold. Never snows in Melbourne. It's not like Canada or the US or the UK. It will snow depending on where you are. Australia is very warm climate, and then at least you get to enjoy that cooler weather as well. In Malaysia it's always hot, right? So I know a lot of people from Malaysia, they like to go somewhere that's a little bit cooler to enjoy that kind of aspect. So that's another unique thing as well. You do get those distinct 4 seasons in Australia. I'm from Sydney, so it's probably famous for its weather there as well. Next thing as well I want to talk about is the economy and politics. So Australia, having not being such a big country in terms of population, it is quite large economically. They do. It's one of the largest economies of the world in the top 20. I believe it's the 13th now, but COVID. So I'm not going to make numbers right now during this unfamiliar and crazy time. But before COVID, it was around the 13th or 14th largest economy, depending on how you define it. You're very resource-rich nation as well, very service-driven economy, lots of jobs. I think that's another thing that really does gravitate a lot of people to Australia. And like Chi said, there's lots of opportunities here and lots of different career paths that you could go down to. And there's a favorable immigration policy, which I'll talk about later as well. So politically as well, it's quite stable. I think that's another good thing that allows, there's always a lot of investment going into the country. It's quite stable. And it was what was once part of the Commonwealth of the UK, just like Malaysia was at one point as well, was a former colony. So there's that shared history there as well. And education having being one of the most important sectors to our economy as well. In terms of education, they have 7 universities in the top 100 universities in the world. So that's what really does attract a lot of international students to Australia as well. They attract Nobel Prize winners to teach at the universities, some outstanding professors that do come to Australia in all fields, science, technology, engineering. There really is no shortage of professional leaders in their fields in Australia. So that's why students really like to go to Australia, and they like to really learn from their experiences. Some other points I'll talk about are how safe Australia is. You have to say, compared to other countries, it is very safe. You cannot stress that enough. It really is a beautiful place. The friendly people, where Australian people are very enthusiastic. They're very, but they're relaxed at the same time as well. More relaxed than Americans, more relaxed than British, you'd have to say. And I think that has to do with the weather and the culture there and the safe environment. Definitely going to cities like Sydney and Melbourne, they are big cities, but I think generally speaking, they are quite friendly people. Having said that, if you go to smaller cities like Adelaide, Brisbane, Perth, really friendly as well. And that's coming from someone from Sydney. I really did notice how friendly the people were. In Adelaide, for example, I went there not too long ago, and I was very shocked to see how friendly the people were there. Another thing is the reasonable studying expenses is quite a big range, actually. People talk about Australia, they may think it's expensive compared to the UK. Yes, it's a yes and no. You cannot generally say overall that one country is more expensive than the other. It really does depend on a lot of factors, and that is where you're studying, the location, which university you're studying, which degree, all of those come into play. So if you're looking for something cheaper option, Australia definitely has those options. So we would have to choose the right city for you and the right program for you as well. And it can be around a bachelor degree in some universities can be only around 20,000, 20 to 25,000 Australian dollars per year. At Western Sydney University, that's generally speaking what the fees are, and it's a world-renowned university. That's a good option there. If the fees are not a boundary for you, then there's the sky is the limit. Really, they can be very expensive. The fees in Australia, around the highest I would say right now is around 45,000 Australian dollars per year. If you're looking at University of Melbourne, University of Sydney, some programs there can be quite expensive. But what you're paying for top-notch quality. Sydney University and Melbourne University, they're some of the top or the highest ranked universities in the world. They're famous for their employability as well. Recently, the QS rankings listed University of Sydney as number 5 and Melbourne as number 7, I believe, in terms of employability. So those people graduating from those universities are finding jobs pretty much 100%. And that's compared to a whole range of universities around the world. So that's very attractive to go there. So the next point I want to make is working options while studying in Australia. So you can work up to 40 hours per fortnight when you're in Australia, similar to other countries as well. So I'm not going to say that's only Australia does that. Other countries do have that option as well, but I like how there's that flexibility in Australia. During the holidays, you can work unlimited amount of hours. So during the semester, you have the option to work 40 hours per fortnight or 20 hours a week. But during the holidays, you can work as much as you like. So if you don't intend to go on holiday, you can just work throughout the week and then really earn some good money in Australia. Actually, the wage in Australia is higher. The minimum wage is higher than the UK, US, Canada for sure. That's another great benefit to Australia. If you're working in an easy job, let's say a lot of students like myself back in the day, I've worked in Chinese restaurants. I've worked in hotels, and I did that to get through in university, and you were getting good money. At the time, as a casual worker, I was earning around $24 an hour, and every week you could, really, if you wanted to, you could save quite a bit of money, which will help you throughout your studies. So I do encourage students to study, not only just to get money, but also to have that working experience in Australia, to also meet local friends, local co-workers as well. That's another good opportunity to meet locals too. Going to the world-class education, I think I've already covered that, and the highly developed economy since 1991 until recently, because of COVID-19, Australia was in constant economic growth. They were one of the few Western countries to maintain economic growth for such a long period of time. And I think that's due to their sensibility the government has in managing the economy, and the resources that we have in Australia, the efficient workplace that we have. Australia has done quite well, and already now the Australian economy grew about 3% just coming out of COVID. So it looks like things are coming back very soon. Last point I want to make is the immigration options as well. So after you study a bachelor or master's degree, and as long as it's over 2 years, then you can get a post-study working visa in Australia as well, and that will allow you to work. And depending on where you study, it can be 2 years or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and I'll go into details soon. And most students that do elect to do that, they will also consider to migrate as well. And Australia definitely has a friendly migration policy, but it's not the easiest way either. If you're going to study a general program like business or commerce, which a lot of other students do, or accounting. Yes, accounting is a migration profession. You are able to migrate through the accountancy program, but the places are very few and they're very competitive. So it's quite tough. So we recommend other professions out there. There's so many. There's a big list, and I will go through that later on. So when we talk about Australia, there's a whole application procedure we have to think about as well. And for Australia, it's actually quite simple. It's not too difficult as well compared to other countries that I know, like the US, UK. The application for Australia is quite simple in comparison. There's in most cases in Australia, you don't have to prepare a CV or a personal statement. Which is quite good. Australia really just looks at your academic performance and your English capabilities as well. Just like any other university around the world, they want to see your academic reports. Australia is the same, but we don't look at your personal character or your experience or anything like that. So Australia is quite favorable there. And basically the application procedure looks like this. So you, the student, once you're interested, you've decided that you want to study in Australia, maybe you'll approach Chi or you'll approach myself, and then you'll start to put the plan in motion. You'll say to Chi exactly what you want to apply for, and then we'll go through the application process with you. So once the consultant knows what you want to study, we'll fill out the form with you together. There's our application form. We'll prepare your documents like your passport, your academic transcripts, things like that. And then we will submit to the university. So step 3. And as long as you meet the requirements to the university, you should be able to get an offer. You can even make an application to the university without your IELTS in some cases, or without your full academic transcript. You might be finishing off your year 12, your final year, but you don't have your final result yet, but you'd still like to make your application. You're still able to do that. So we can still make an application for you. And then the university will give what's called a conditional offer. So they'll secure a place for you, conditional on your final score. So if you meet the academic requirement, then we'll submit that again. And then the university, if they're satisfied with your academic report in Malaysia, then they will give an unconditional offer. That means you've got a place, you've secured a place, you've met all the requirements, and then we can move on to the next step. So that is once we do receive that offer, then you might have applied for other universities as well. So don't feel like you're restricted to apply for one university. You can apply for many. You might like the options in Melbourne. Maybe you want to apply for Monash. Maybe you want to apply for La Trobe or Deakin. They're really popular universities in Melbourne. So you might like to wait for all the offers to come through first and then make a decision. So when you make a final decision on the university, you'll let myself or Chi know, then we'll have to accept this offer. So, and accepting the offer also means paying the deposit. So you have to secure your place. And usually the deposit is 1 semester of the tuition fee. So 1 semester, well, 1 year is 2 semesters. Let's say the school fees is 30,000, each semester 15,000. You'd have to pay something to that amount. So once the deposit is paid and the insurance as well, then we can think about, then we will receive the COE, which is the confirmation of enrollment. And that's when you really have secured your place, everything is ready to go. Then we need to use this COE to apply for your visa to Australia. So usually the COE, depending on the university, once you pay the deposit, it can take a few days to get that COE, and depending on the university. And hopefully they get that out really quickly, and then we can apply for your visa. And sometimes the visa usually takes around 1 month with all of your documents ready. we can hope to get the visa in time, very, very quick. Just 1 second, my battery is running out. I'll just quickly charge my laptop. 1 second, Jay.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you have any questions, you can actually type in the Q&A box now as well. Don't worry, you can just type in whatever you have in your mind.
Yeah. Okay, I'm charged back up now. Good. Great. So once you do apply for the visa, it can take about a month in Australia. But from our experience in Malaysia, sometimes it can be very quick, within a week or two. But at maximum around 1 month. And this, I will say, disclosure, this was before COVID-19. It's another situation now. But we do expect things to return to normal very, very soon, looking into 2021. So once the student if you do get the visa, then you're ready to go. You're ready to go to Australia, and we can help arrange airport pickups or homestays or whatever accommodation service you need as well. That's something we at Yes Education can provide as well. So I hope that's all pretty clear, and you can ask me questions about this later on. I do want to keep running through this. And this is just to sum up. So online applications can be made. If you don't have your full academic transcripts or your IELTS, we can get the conditional offer letter for you. Once you fulfill the conditions, that means resubmitting your IELTS once you have it, or giving the full academic transcripts that satisfy the requirements for the university, then we can receive the unconditional offer letter. We use this and accept this offer letter, pay the deposit along with the insurance. So all international students must pay for insurance as well for the entire length of your stay in Australia. So for bachelor program, you'll have to pay for around 3 years insurance. Then after that, the deposit is paid, we will receive the COE, like I said, the confirmation of enrollment, then apply for the student visa, then arrive in Australia. I hope that's summed up very nicely there for you. So this is something that I'm sure you're all intrigued about. This is a map of the universities in Australia. There's 42 universities in Australia. There's not that many compared to the UK or the US. I mean, there's almost too many to count in the US, even if you include community colleges. So I think there's only 42 in Australia. There's not that many, but I think that's what really counts. I think the quality is really maintained across all 42 universities in Australia. They're really well managed by the Ministry of Education in Australia. A lot of them have been around for a very, very long time, and their quality is always maintained. The feedback from students is always very, very good. The resources available, and I think that's one of the greatest things about studying in Australia. So as you can see on this map, the bulk of the universities in Australia are on the eastern coast of Australia. That's where most of the Australian population actually resides. So in Queensland to New South Wales to Victoria. I'm from Sydney, that's inside New South Wales. So you can see there's a lot of universities there. The famous ones being UNSW, University of Sydney, UTS as well, quite famous in Malaysia. Then you've got ones like Western Sydney. Western Sydney has some really good graduate outcomes and internships available at Western Sydney. Good access to all industry sectors as well. Lower entry requirements must be said for Western Sydney, and quite cheap as well. Like I said before, only 22, 25. For cybersecurity, it's only around 23,000 Australian dollars after scholarship, and they're giving automatic scholarship of $3,000 for all international students that apply. So that's a really good option there. And I'll go through more details soon. Then you've got Canberra. Canberra is the capital of Australia. It is located in between Sydney and Melbourne. There are only 2 universities there. There's Australian National University, which is the highest ranked university in Australia. That's just inside the top 20 in the world. So really up there with the Nanyang in Singapore and the National University of Singapore as well in terms of ranking, very, very high, and very research driven as well. The population is not even quite 1 million, so it's quiet, but it's very conducive for international students that want to focus on their study. That's students that go there really tend to talk about how good it is to study there and the resources available. Some of the best technology and focus is there. But a lot of international students, and don't think that just because it's a smaller city that it's no fun. There's tons of international students that study there. They have lots of clubs, lots of events that they do, and lots of people from all over the world. So I think within the university, there's so much you can do, and you immediately forget about how small Canberra is. You think it's just so fun and uplifting when you're on campus in Canberra. In fact, our leadership team in Sydney just went to Canberra recently, and they had a really good time. Then you got Melbourne. Melbourne is, no need to mention too much about Melbourne in Malaysia, very famous. Monash, there's many students from Malaysia that have gone there for many years. University of Melbourne as well is third highest ranked university according to US. You got RMIT, very, very good university as well, quite famous all over Asia, La Trobe University. So RMIT, going back to that, very good for design, engineering, nursing as well. Lots of good options there. And then moving on to Adelaide, which is over here. So Adelaide is in South Australia. This is classified as a regional area. Same with Western Australia, or pretty much all locations in Australia are classified as a regional area, except for Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. And what does a regional area mean? It just means that if you study in this regional area, there's more benefit for your post-study life. Easier to migrate, easier to stay longer in Australia as well. So for example, if you study in these regional area for bachelor or master, as long as it's 2 years and above, you can stay back for 3 years after that in the cities like Adelaide, Perth. But if you study in another regional area, which is like a tier 2 regional area, like Rockhampton in Queensland or Townsville or Cairns, you can remain back for 4 years after that. So I'm not sure what you like, what you're thinking about in Australia. I think most students from Malaysia are satisfied to go to Melbourne and just get 2 years post-study working. But if you're looking for more, I would encourage to go to a regional area like Adelaide or Perth, which is a big city. Adelaide and Perth are really big cities, economically very sound, very strong. Lots of opportunity there. I would recommend to go to these cities. But it's hard to sway people away from Melbourne and Sydney, and I understand that as well. But I'd love to hear what you students have to say after this, and feel free to ask me what your opinion is. These are some useful websites, and I want to share my screen on this right here. So this is the QS ranking. So I talked a little bit about rankings before. We like to, probably the most recognized ranking around the world, you'd have to say, is QS. That's one that everyone likes to look at, and it does favor the Australian universities quite well. So you can see these are the top 10, no surprises with US, UK, but let's look at Australia. We're talking about Australia today. So we can change this to Australia. And here you can see clearly for you parents and students out there, what are the highest ranked universities are in Australia. So like I said, ANU, yes, just outside the top 30, should I say. Then Melbourne, oh, this is 2020. This should be 2021. Change that. I thought that was old, because now Sydney is the second highest in Australia. So you can feel free to go onto websites like this, so you can see clearly and officially what are the rankings in Australia. So ANU 31, University of Sydney 40, and Melbourne just after that. Monash, if you're curious, is 55, very highly ranked. And you can see the 7 inside the top 100 in Australia, which is quite impressive. It's more than Canada, actually. But most universities in the top 10, yeah, US, UK, Australia, of course, Hong Kong, Singapore, even Malaysia has some as well. So that's one website I wanted to show you. So another website that I wanted to show you that what's really interesting, it's called Compare Ed, which basically there's this research company out there called QILT, which basically does all these research on and surveys on students on their experiences in Australia, their graduate satisfaction, and their graduate employment and salary in Australia. So they go out and they do these big surveys. They ask all these students that graduated every year about their satisfaction and their current status. Did they find a job? What's their salary? All these things. So I put together 5 institutions here, all in Sydney. I'm from Sydney, so I'm going to show you these Sydney ones. I've got 4 universities here, and I've got 1 Tafe. Now, Tafe is a vocational school in Australia. They have diplomas, they have bachelor programs as well. Not a lot of people outside of Australia know what Tafe is, but it is very, very famous in Australia. Very famous with Australian bosses, and those bosses that are looking for students that have practical and real life experience. Now, that's what you get at Tafe. It is famous for giving students really practical training, lots of industry placements, lots of access to technology and hands-on learning. So that's something I wanted to show you here. So I've compared all of these. Now, one of the questions they ask is the percentage of students that had a positive overall experience in Australia. So Sydney University, where I went between 2018 and 2019, 74.2% had a positive overall experience. But Tafe is higher than University of Sydney. Tafe, 76.5% of students were having a positive outcome and a positive experience. Then looking at UTS, very high at 77.6%, same as well with Macquarie University in Sydney as well, and UNSW at 69.2%. Then there's questions like skills development. Now, straight away at 84.2%, Tafe is really, really high. So that tells me that students really do develop their skills and are very satisfied with their skills at Tafe. And we don't have to guess why. They really do have those practical courses. And the fees are very cheap. So if you're paying cheap fees and getting high skills, students are going to be very happy. Students are going to be very positive about their development. So Tafe New South Wales is actually one of the biggest providers in Australia. They have a lot of campuses in Sydney. There's also Tafe options in Melbourne too. There's a Tafe called Box Hill Institute. There's Chisholm as well. There's a few different types of Tafe. So an example, they have a lot of different courses ranging from business to real estate to more hands-on like nursing as well. So that's something to think about as well. And you feel free to ask me if you have any more questions, but I do want to move on. So let's go back to my presentation here. So I will share this presentation with you, and you feel free to click on these links here. So this just goes through those QS rankings. And I have all this information on Tafe as well. So what is Tafe stands for Technical and Further Education. So I've got all of the Tafes hyperlinked here in this presentation. But there's a lot of information. I could talk about it for a long time. But that's why me and Chi are here in your spare time. If you want to learn more about it, we can talk about it. And I went through the QILT and Compare Ed, that website. So going through all the different outcomes as well. And they also talk about salary as well. So if you're keen to learn more about what can you expect from each university in terms of salary, it's all there as well. So the Australian education system kind of looks like this. So it goes from, I'm not going to talk too much about the certificate, but before that, it's really primary school goes from kindergarten to year 6. Now, kindergarten, you usually start when you're 5 years old, and then year 6, you're around 12. So kindergarten to year 6, finish at 12, and then you go into year 7, which is then, depending on the state, I was in New South Wales, we call that high school. Year 7 to year 12 is high school in Australia. In Melbourne, they call that secondary school. And that's also year 7 to year 12. Some schools can be kindergarten to year 12. Others, they like to split. And generally, it's not split into middle school and high school. It's usually year 7 to year 12 together. Then after that, we have what's called a diploma. So a diploma is a level 5, just kind of before the advanced diploma and bachelor degree. But most students, when you finish high school in Australia, you will then go on to level 7, the bachelor degree, and then after that, masters after that. But depending on the situation, some students might like to do, especially from international students, if they don't meet academic requirements to enter bachelor degree in Australia, they might have to choose a foundation program or a diploma program. So diploma program is here. Right here. So if you do a diploma, you can enter, and if you pass those grades, you can enter the second year of university. And I will talk about that more very soon. This is what it kind of looks like. This is a really good flow chart explained by Flinders University. Flinders University is in South Australia. So this is what it kind of looks like from the international student perspective, from your perspective. So students, they can either start at the undergraduate degree in blue if they meet the academic requirements. But if they do not, they will have to do a diploma program or a foundation program. Now, a foundation program is usually for those students that finish year 11 in Malaysia. You can go to Australia. If you don't want to do your final exams in Malaysia, if you don't want to do year 12, you know you want to go to study in Australia, you can do what's called a foundation program first. And inside this foundation program, it's like equivalent to year 12 study, but it's specific for international students to really build the foundations for you to maximize your skills before you start your undergraduate degree in Australia. So they focus a lot on your essay writing, a lot of your research skills, all of those skills required to be successful during your undergraduate study. In fact, a lot of these skills in the foundation program, you don't study in high school in Australia. So they're really unique skills, and really those students that do go through the foundation program end up being very successful. They become very prepared. They know how to notate, they know how to cite, they know how to research, they know how to do all of the assignments, all the assessments, they know how to manage their time. A lot of those students that finish high school and then go immediately into the undergrad program, they're not used to the new system. They're not used to the bachelor degree. They're not used to becoming so independent. Because you go from being babied in high school all of a sudden to being very independent in your undergrad degree. So it's very difficult for some students. But those students that do go through the foundation program, they end up being very successful. They do learn all of those skills, like I said. So in this top section here, you can do foundation. And if necessary, if you don't have the English requirement, you can do an academic English preparation program as well. But generally, students from Malaysia don't have to do that. Generally, Malaysian student English is very good. Then, so from foundation, you go to undergrad, year 1, then year 2, year 3. In Australia, undergraduates are 3-year programs, generally speaking. So business, commerce, they're all 3-year programs. But engineering tends to be 4-year programs in Australia. And some design programs are 4 as well. But everything else, generally speaking, is a 3-year program. And once you finish your undergrad, you can elect to work or then move on to do your master's after that. Then you've got what's called the diploma, like I said before. So diploma can be those students that finish year 12 in Malaysia, and then they might not have the right academic, they didn't meet the right academic to get into the undergrad degree. So you might miss out on a few points. You didn't meet what their standards, so you can do a diploma. And generally there's diplomas in business, engineering, science, health. So you can elect to do one of these courses, and the content is exactly the same as the undergraduate degree. Content is exactly the same as a year one student in the undergrad. So you learn all the same content, but you get a little bit more assistance from the teachers, which is really good. You get that extra support. So diploma is also really good. And doing the diploma, if you successfully complete the diploma, then you enter the second year of the undergraduate degree. So that's that's an option where you save time as well, but you get all that support. So diploma is really something to consider as well. I talked about the regional areas before. So just again, all regions except for Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane are regional areas in Australia. And they have these, there's two categories. Category 2 are the cities. Category 3 are really the regional centres in Australia. So smaller towns like Armidale, Cairns, Townsville, Ballarat, Coffs Harbour, where a lot of students do go on to study. If you do study there, you get 2 additional years of post-study working visa. So that's 4 years. And then in the other centres like Perth, Adelaide, you can, Gold Coast as well. These are all really big cities actually. You can get 3 years and additional points for migration if you consider that. I've got some estimated costs here, but I want to show you later on. Here are some universities and colleges in regional areas across Australia. So quite a lot of options. I'm not sure whether the students are interested in these regional areas, but I think one of the main benefits is you really do get to know the local culture of Australia, and you meet a lot of locals more in that way. You go to the big cities, there can be a tendency for some students to hang around maybe their own countrymen or maybe other international students, which is fine. That's really I really encourage that. Of course, that's fantastic. But for those students that don't want to meet international students, they really just want to go and immerse themselves in local culture, then you can consider going to regional areas in Australia. It's also very cheap, much cheaper than studying in the big city. So even going to Canberra, you do meet more locals there. And Canberra, it's a political centre of Australia. It's a great and very resourceful place to study. Then you've got areas like University of Newcastle. It's only 2 hours and a half drive from Sydney. That's considered a regional area, quite big, but still also quite a lot of opportunities there as well. You'll meet a lot of local students. They're very friendly, very nice, very caring, and you can really get to know the local culture there, which I think is a great experience. If you're going to go to Australia for a significant amount of time, it's good to learn more about what's happening and what the local mentality is in Australia. Then you got the Gold Coast as well. But that's actually quite a big city. But it's on the coast. It's on the beach. It's a tourist destination actually. Very, 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 very beautiful. So there's all these different options you can choose. You can choose to be on the coast near the beach. You can choose to be more inland, more what we call the outback. There's many different options and locations to study in Australia. Australia is very big and diverse, so it depends on what you want. Now, here are the costs. These are looking at the tuition fees of the group of 8. It's around 30,000 to, I said 45 before, but yet maybe there's a few courses around 50,000 Australian dollars. So the group of 8 are those universities in the top 8 in Australia. Then you've got tuition from other universities around 20 to 35,000 Australian dollars. Usually the cheapest courses are business or maybe arts as well. They're around 30,000 for the group of 8, or around 20,000 for other universities. The expensive ones tend to be medicine. Some engineering courses as well can be quite expensive. Then I talked about Tafe before. They're really cheap. So some courses at Tafe are around only 13,000 Australian dollars per year. Very practical. Remember that. And then maximum around 20. So very, very attractive fees at university. Then accommodation. A lot of people ask me about what the go is, what the situation is for accommodation in Australia. It kind of looks like this. On campus can be around $110 per week to $280 per week, depending on the university. So some students like to study on campus. Some students prefer to live outside with their friends. I think there's positives to both. I think if you study on campus, it's a great way to get to know your fellow international students or local students. You definitely connect in a different way. If you're living in the same quarters, it's kind of a unique situation and a bond that will never be broken. If you're living next door to a local student, they'll always remember you, and you'll always be their friend for a long time. Shared rental as well. I just think shared rental, maybe there's just less people that you're living within close quarters, but also a great way to save money as well. If you've got a few different roommates, the living expenses can be quite cheap. So the ranges are very big. I don't like that, how they give these ranges, but we must, because it is different. The more expensive it is, so you see the 280 per week, the 215 per week, that's probably in Sydney and Melbourne. That's what you're looking at per week, perhaps even a little bit more actually. And then there's homestay as well. I think homestay is a really good option to think about, perhaps even for 1 year. If you're going to study foundation or diploma or your first year of university, sometimes it's good to think about maybe considering a homestay as well. If you really want to connect with a local family and learn more about Australian culture and be well looked after, homestay is a good option. Maybe not for the full 3 years. Maybe I know some students that have done that as well, but for 1 year, it's definitely a good entry point into Australia. Then the rental means rent by yourself. So shared rental can be quite cheap, depending on how many people you live with, but rental can be in the big cities around $440 per week. In Sydney and Melbourne, close to the universities, are expensive as well. But all of this was before the pandemic as well. The rents have definitely gone down since that time. So moving on to other expenses. In Australia, groceries, eating out, you can look at this and kind of, this is what you can kind of expect. Depending on how much you want to buy, how much luxury you want, how much you want to eat. 140 to 280 per week. Gas and electricity, 10 to 20 per week. Phone and internet, usually pay by the month. It's usually $100, $100 for the month. Maybe a little bit more than that, depending on your deal that you get, how much internet data you want to use. Public transport. It's good if you try to live close to your university. Then you can walk to university, so you save money there. Car, some people like to choose that. Then entertainment, maybe 80 to 150 per week, but that's just a guess there. It really does depend on the person. But yeah, eating out in Australia can be quite expensive, maybe $10 to $15 a meal. Going to the cinema, another $15 to $20. Depends on what you like, what you want to do. And the Department of Home Affairs, all of this I've taken from the Department of Home Affairs in Australia. So that's their recommendations that they gave. And they also like to say for the 12-month living costs in Australia for students is around 21,000 Australian dollars per year. So looking up the top again, we've got the group of 8 universities. Let's say you go to Monash in Melbourne. Bachelor of Business is around, maybe 35,000 Australian dollars. And then on top of that, it's going to be around 21,000 Australian dollars as well. So yeah, it's not cheap, but that's just a recommendation. Certainly depends on your lifestyle, but you're certainly getting what you pay for going to Australia. It is a world-class experience, especially going down to Melbourne. It is going to be a bit more expensive, but certainly you're going to get a lot from it doing that. Now, many of you will ask about what is the entry requirements for Malaysia. Now, there's so many different universities, and they accept many different programs as well. And many of you in Malaysia study different curriculum. Some of you study STPM, some of you may study IB, some of you may study A-levels. So depending on what you study, the university will have different requirements. Now, I've used this one as example. This is La Trobe University, their Bachelor of Business. Quite a good program that I like to recommend in Australia. Now, they have a requirement of the STPM is 6 or a GPA of 2.0, where the total of best 3 subjects, where A equals 4, A minus equals 3.67. So I think you calculate these 3 subjects, and if you're reaching 6 or the GPA of 2.0, that is enough to get you direct entry into the Bachelor of Business at La Trobe University. But every university is a little bit different, and I have a few more to show you after this as well. In some cases as well, if you do your STPM and you get a B in English, it is enough to waive the English requirement. So you don't have to do IELTS if you get a B in English. That's for a lot of universities in Australia. So that's the same with La Trobe University. If you're getting a B in your final STPM, you don't have to do IELTS. So that's really good. That's the confidence that Australia has in the Malaysian curriculum. You don't have to do IELTS, and that's not the same for many other countries. So Malaysia's in a really good position for that. So in Australia, the academic terms kind of look like this. We have what's called the semester models. You'll be familiar with that, whereby the calendar starts in late February or early March in Australia, because Australia is in the southern hemisphere, so our academic terms are a little bit different to the northern hemisphere. So because summer is from now, December, January, February, so this is the holiday time. So right now in Australia, all the universities are finished. Yes, there are some summer course programs you can do, but in general, most of the students take a holiday right now and then restart at the end of February, at the end of summer, or early March. At the University of Sydney, where I went, we began in early March, and it goes all the way to the end of June, when winter begins in June in Australia. And then the second semester begins in late July, and we'll finish at the end of November. So very, very simple. Really March to June, then July to end of November. And that means there's 2 intake dates. So if you finish in Malaysia around June, July, then you can consider to go to study in Australia in late July for the first for that intake, or you can wait until the following year to start in semester 1. Most programs are quite flexible. You can start in semester 2 or start in semester 1. Then there's universities have the trimester model. Quite a lot of universities in Australia, even UNSW, which is a group of 8 university, they have this trimester system. So you start in mid-Feb, go to the end of May, then early June to, let's say, October, and then start maybe November, and then finish in the February of the next year. So there's 3 trimesters as well, and that's for students to give them more flexibility to start as well, and just a more even pacing term over the year. Some students really like this system. So these universities use the trimester model, and then semester model is more the traditional way. So most of the group of 8 universities like to use that semester model. So the academic term, 1 year is 2 semesters or 3 trimesters, and usually every semester you do 4 subjects, and then for the year usually 8 subjects in total. So when you're doing trimesters, you're doing less subjects at a time. So there's also less pressure on you. If you want to take less subjects on, you can do that. If you want to take more, you can as well. Depends on your schedule. And 1 semester is around 18 weeks, like I said, and 1 trimester around 12. So within the semester, within the subjects that you take, there's usually a lecture. So a lecture is you go in the big lecture halls. There's a professor talking to maybe 200 students, and then there's tutorials, which are more smaller style lessons where you have a more intimate learning from, usually it's not the professor, usually it's like a PhD student from the university that helps you with your course as well. I've found these very helpful in Australia. Then in terms of your weighted assessments, you have quizzes, assignments, midterm exams. Group work is very important in Australia. You'll always have to do group work with other students, and that's another great way to get to know your fellow students. Other presentations and final exams. The weighting depends on the course, and it can be found in the course details or the course outline. So yeah, I talked a little bit about foundation programs before, and diploma programs. And just, I want to share with you before we finish up. So I also have these, most universities will have a guide like this. So if you're more curious about the entry requirements of universities, this is University of Sydney. This is their 2020 guide. Basically, they have all of the courses here, from architecture to arts to business. And they have all of the different requirements from each of the different countries. So I can see Malaysia here, Malaysia, STPM, UEC. And if you're doing A levels, you can look at A levels. You can look at IB. All of the entry requirements are here. So what they say, this is for Sydney University. And then they say here at the bottom.
Sorry, Bo, I think it's not shared.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's not shared.
Oh, it's not. Oh, it's not shared. Okay. Apologies. Yeah, here we go. Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying before. So this is the 2020 guide for international students. They have a range of the curriculums over the globe. I can see Malaysia STPM is right here. Malaysia UEC. Then you got IB diploma, and then A levels is here as well. So there's so many different courses here and different requirements, and they also have the English requirement as well. Bachelor of Commerce at Sydney is quite high, 7, and the lowest band should be 6.0. Now, what they say for Malaysia, you can come down to the bottom here. They talk about how to calculate the requirements. So they say for STPM, the aggregate for a minimum 3 subjects or 4 advanced level subjects is based on A equals 7, A equals -6. And I think going back up here, you just have to tally your scores. So if you're getting an A, that equals 7 points. And looking at commerce, let's see the SPTM here, 19. So if you're going to have to get quite good scores to get into Sydney University directly. Then I've got UNSW here as well. They also have the same scoring system as well, A equals 7 as well. Okay, going back So on our PPT here, oops. Yeah, we've got all of these direct entry forms as well. So yeah, if you're interested to know more about the entry requirements, just ask one of us and we can help you out with that. So I think that's all I wanted to share with you today. But you know, I think there's so many things I could have covered more. And if you're interested to hear about other things, please let us know, and I'll be happy to share my experience or my expertise in this area. So thank you so much, Chi, for your time, and yeah, don't be afraid to ask any questions.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Bo. Yeah, for your clear info and informative sharing. So you can type in, yeah, or students, you can type in your any questions in your the Q&A box, right? Do feel free to chat with us, ask us questions. So we are happy to answer your queries. Okay. So Bo is waiting for you.
Yeah, and I think I'll just say that yeah, you can ask anything about the destination that you choose. Is Sydney better, Melbourne better? Should you consider business, arts, architecture? It really does depend on you. I mean, depends on your passion. I would always advise students to look at their passion and study that you actually care about. Some parents might you know, like to you know, suggest students do engineering, business, accounting, but it really is up to you. The options are limitless in Australia, and you can really, as I said before, you can really find your passions in Australia as well, and lots of working opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. So the Q&A box is at the bottom, yeah, bottom of your screen. Right, so do chat with us, anything that you want to ask. Okay. Right, don't be shy, yeah?
Yeah, no need to be shy.
Do ask. Yeah, the earliest, one of the earliest session, a lot of questions, yeah, from the students.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of these students that you can see, Chi, are they from Penang?
Yeah, mostly from Penang this round.
Yeah.
And then they are currently more to the SPM, their SPM level, that means year
Okay.
11. Yes.
Yeah, got it. Fantastic. That's great.
Year 11 students, SPM. So basically you need a foundation program, right? As Bo discussed just now. Yeah, you need a foundation. It can be a year, right? A year program.
Yes, usually 1 year. Yeah. Well, in fact, it takes 9 months. Usually it begins at the beginning of the year, or they have some entry points in September as well. And it usually goes for 9 months. And like I said, it's really fantastic for building those skills necessary to become successful and to apply these skills to really succeed during your undergraduate degree in Australia.
Yeah, well, maybe you can discuss a little bit about this when they go to the foundation program, how secure that they will enter the undergraduate bachelor's degree.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I think it's really very high success rate. But it does depend on your hard work as well. You cannot ride through university or foundation programs very easy. But having said that, they do give you more support in the foundation and the diploma program. So there's coordinators there, there's counselors, there's advisors. There's people that are working in the student support team that are really fantastic at giving help. And I think students need that. So if you're going to, you know, study in Australia, you're leaving home, it's very difficult. It's not easy. Maybe you're leaving friends behind, your family behind. So maybe you're a really hardworking student, but maybe when you get to Australia, maybe you lose a little bit of confidence or motivation. But when you're there at the foundation degree, they do give you a lot of that support, and don't be afraid to ask for the support too. it's a little bit different. In Australia, you can really ask your professors for help. Of course, the counselors are there too, but you can really have a chat and have a working relationship with your teachers or your professors as well. You can always, during my time at university, I always ask, my professors after class for more assistance. It can be for anything. It can be you didn't understand something, or you need help to structure your essays or structure your writing in some way. The professors are always be patient and wait for you and try to assist you as much as they can. But yeah, going back to the success rate, hard work. As long as you work hard, it will be 100%. For sure. If you're not putting in the effort, if you're going to the foundation, but you're not showing any signs of effort, or you're not attending class, that's very bad. And then you increase your likelihood of failing the course. And that's not good. You definitely don't want to do that and have to repeat again. That won't look very good. But having said that, if it does happen, there's always second chance in Australia as well. That's another good thing I like to say about our system. We definitely do offer many opportunities to correct. Sometimes you can have bad times. There's good times, bad times. If you do go through the bad times, they're understanding, and they'll give you another chance.
So having said that, so if the students work hard, so there's a very hard, definitely they will enter the undergraduate. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
really. If you're working hard, you're gonna make it.
Yeah. And the year foundation is a good experience for them to go into a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because different in Malaysia, yeah, our study style is slightly different. Okay.
Yeah.
So if the students can enter foundation in Australia, they will get something like a bridging year when they enter the degree, the bachelor's degree. So it's a good opportunity actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question here from the floor. All right, let me see. Okay, are there any training program for development psychology or speech therapy degree? Right,
yes, speech therapy or speech pathology is quite popular in Australia, but double. So I guess you would like to do a double in that. For example, at Western Sydney University, they have a Bachelor of Speech Pathology, but they do have a lot of psychology subjects inside that class as well. But I don't think you can twin. It. But I can double check for you. But there are a lot of courses for both psychology and speech pathology. There's options in Perth as well, at Edith Cowan University, Sydney University. I would say Western Sydney University is a really, really good one to think about as well, because I know it has, within the course, it has a lot of subjects on psychology as well. So that's probably what you want to think about. But whether you can twin psychology and speech pathology, I'll have to double check. So yeah, let's take a note of that, Chi, and we'll get back to that student.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I don't mean double degree. It's not about double degree. Maybe it's either one. All right.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's many. Oh, in that case, there's many. Then, like I say, there's a lot of usually bachelor programs. There's quite many of those all across in Australia. I can also think of Newcastle as well. Some of them are honours degrees as well, so they're 4-year programs. Charles Sturt does speech and language pathology. There's quite a lot of options there in Australia. Which city were you thinking about studying?
Yeah, you can provide in the Q&A your contact, your name and contact, and then whether you're under SPM or SDPM level, so we can help you more.
There's also in Melbourne, there's Uni Melbourne that does this, but only master level. So bachelor level, they don't have that. In La Trobe, they have speech pathology, ACU speech pathology as well. So it would then depend on which destination you would like to go, whether it would be Melbourne, Sydney, you like to go to regional area as well. I think there's a lot of good options in Australia for that. But I had just recently had a training for Western Sydney, and I know that their professors are very well experienced in the field and have a lot of good connections with the industry as well. So finding jobs and connecting you with people in the field would be quite easy. So Western Sydney could be an option for you to think about.
All right, so further questions from the same person. Are there programs where the degree study a year or two in Malaysia and continue the final year in Australia?
Yes, there's quite a few. So like there's Swinburne, Malaysia, there's Monash, Malaysia. There's quite a lot. I think even you can study at APU, Asia Pacific University, for some time, and then they don't have like exactly a direct relationship or pathway, but you could study for like, let's say 1 year there and have, you could apply for course exemption or credit exemption to go to Australia after that. So that would be possible, but we would need to submit all of the course outline for the courses that you do. I'd be interested to know if you're currently studying at a university in Malaysia yourself. It's generally between Malaysia and Australia, it's not too difficult, but it would be easier if you were going to, let's say, Monash, Malaysia, or Swinburne, Malaysia, or another university in Malaysia that's affiliated with an Australian university. That would be more seamless, the application process.
So
and generally, like
right.
business is very easy to transfer over.
Either way, the student need to reapply again, right? And with us. Example,
Yes.
Like Malaysia as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's very, very easy to apply. You could be already studying bachelor in Malaysia. You might have finished your first year. We gather your academic transcripts, course outline, those details, and then we can make an application, let's say to Bachelor of Business in Monash, for example. That could be done. And then if you've completed 1 year, most likely you can get to the second year of Monash after that. They would consider all of the courses that you've done. So it's quite good now, actually. A lot of students are considering this, especially during these times. During COVID, it's impossible to study abroad right now, but most likely everyone, the border should be open in Australia by July 2021. So those students that are currently studying their bachelor in Malaysia, that's fine. That's great. Malaysian universities are fantastic as well, and they're recognized in Australia. So, you know, for courses like business, engineering, accounting, quite okay to, or IT, quite okay to transfer those credits over to Australia. Speech pathology, however, could be different. There's some like design pathology could be a little bit difficult to transfer over. Australia is a bit more strict in that regard, but something like business is okay. And again, I stress, if you're going to Monash, Malaysia, or Swinburne University in Malaysia, or let's say UK, Southampton, universities in UK that, or Nottingham, for example, as well, that is easily transferable to Australia as well. I hope that answers your question.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Any participants? You have any other questions? Right. Such as what course in your mind that you want to study? So you can just type in. Okay, all right. Okay, quite very quiet from the floor. Anything that you would like to add, Bo?
Oh, I would like to add that we in Australia, we really welcome Malaysian students. Malaysian students have been going to Australia for a long time. They've actually given so much to Australia as well. In Australia, there's Malaysian students have gone on to do very successful things in Australia. They've performed very, very well. And they often, in the past and even now, they often stay and run very successful businesses in Australia. One of the top telecommunication executives in Australia was a Malaysian. He runs this company called APT. It's a really top telecommunications company. He's originally Chinese Malaysian. Done some fantastic things and right at the height of technology and progressing in Australia. Lots of successful international students in Australia. And also, you can be confident as well, there's some very good Malaysian food in Australia, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne. You can get good Chinese Malaysian food, Indian Malaysian, very good options. So don't feel like you're going to miss out in Australia. And there's lots of other different food as well. I think what I like about Australia is that it's very multicultural, and there's a very big food scene, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne. So you can not only enjoy food from Malaysia, but also China, Vietnam, US, UK, Middle East, Africa. There's all types of cuisines to enjoy. If you're very passionate about your food and culture, it's a great hub in Australia. We're very lucky to have that. So you can enjoy that part of Australian lifestyle too. That it's very mixed and multicultural. And I would say for students, doesn't matter where you go to study abroad, just really give it your best effort and try your hardest. And then I find that students that do that tend to be very successful. And those that try to meet local friends, international friends, instead of staying at home or being shy, those that really, put the front foot forward and try their hardest, and also look for the jobs. I think I mentioned before as well. Those that find a little part-time job, whether it be in a hotel, at an office, running events on campus as well. Those they're all part of your experience as well, and they help build your character and put you in the right direction that you'll enjoy. So that's an important thing to think about as well. And it's a funny time now to think about study abroad, but everything will be back to normal soon. So I suggest those students that are still in high school, year 10, year 11, something to think about in the future. But if you're already finished now, maybe it's good to do part of your bachelor degree in Malaysia first, and after 1 year, then consider to go to Australia when things start to become normal. I think that's a good option to think about as well.
Yeah. Because some students might be still in the high school, finishing in the high school, some already in STPM level. So students can decide, with us, if you need to study in Malaysia first for foundation, then we can do so for you. After this, then you can transfer to Australia for your degree and or halfway of your degree. So it's a good opportunity. The experience of studying abroad, it's really, really very good. So it helps you when you go out to work. As what Bo mentioned.
Absolutely.
Regarding to the food, so I had a lot of variety in Sydney last year. I don't know what to choose. So basically I can see we have more than in Penang actually, right? Various types of food, different countries. So I saw there's a Nyonya Penang food as well, right? Malay food, Malaysian Malay food.
Nyonya style. That's near our office actually.
A lot of choices. Right.
They have like mamak style restaurant.
Okay. I didn't see that yet. A lot. So not to worry. I met a couple from Singapore. That day I met a couple from Singapore, Indian. So they actually went to Sydney to survey, and the mother actually told me, wow, it looks like still in Asia. The whole Sydney looks like Asia. So she said,
Yeah.
no worries for my daughter to come over.
It is. Sydney and Melbourne, they're really busy and lively, and things do stay open quite late. So there's no worry about that. They're really dynamic cities for sure, and restaurants stay open really late, and it's really good for international students. Very good place.
I think they feel that the whole Sydney is still like in Singapore, so nothing different.
Yeah.
They are so happy with that.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so I think there's no more questions from the floor. Okay, all right, so thanks a lot, Bo. So
No
students, yeah, if you have any further questions, you can always just WhatsApp to me. All right, so feel free to WhatsApp to me. Maybe you will have more private time. Okay, right, or students who already have in mind that you want to study in Australia, or what program, what courses, same thing, yeah, just WhatsApp to me. Okay, all right, you already got my number. Okay, so we will arrange further detail for you. Okay, not to worry so much. And the one that asked about speech therapy and so on, you can just WhatsApp to me the detail, then I'll your contact, which person, so so I can follow up for you. Okay, right. This is a recorded webinar, so we will send you the link later on, so that if you need to go through again, yeah, you can just watch this. All right, so with this, right, I trust you have got good information from Bo. Okay, and we look forward to having you to join with us in the future, right, future event that we may have. Okay, and right, stay connect with us at Yes Education. Right, take care and stay safe. We have just completed our CMCO by today. Today's the last day. Most of the area will be back to RMCO recovering level, so we have more flexibility to move around. Yeah, okay, so all right, so see you next time, everyone. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bo.
Bye.